welcome to my channel Code with Ozzy. I'm Ozzy Ore, your number one coding companion. In this Python series, we'll cover fundamentals of Python, data types and variables, lists, tuples, strings, integers, floats, dictionaries and sets, functions, classes and class inheritance, conditional statements, generators, loops. Then we'll also learn how to find and fix problems with various troubleshooting and debugging tools. Then we jump right into some new and creative Python projects. Not to worry. This tutorial is for all ages, and if you're new to coding and Python, we'll take very simple and easy learning steps, one step at a time. You're also free to ask questions in the comment section below this video, and we'll find time to answer all your questions. Let's begin.
Okay, welcome. Hello, this is Code with Uzi. This is my desktop. So now before we start coding with Python, let's understand what Python is. So Python is an interpreted object-oriented high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. It's very attractive for rapid program development and is often used as a scripting or glue language to connect existing components together as a result of its existing data structures and dynamic typing and binding. So what does this mean? I said Python is an object-oriented programming language which is very attractive for rapid program development. It's also used as a scripting language to connect like existing files like components with a lot of its data structures and dynamic binding. So now you understand what Python is. Let's know what it's used for. So as I said, it is used for building real-world projects and apps. But Python is more than that. For example, imagine an assignment given to your Python beginners in an Excel sheet to sort out a set of footballers according to their salaries using using an online footballers list of over 10,000 rows for which you are required to automatically assign salaries to each footballer. So now let me explain this more. What I mean like imagine you were given an assignment to your Python learners, Python beginners, programmers, and you're told to sort out and which they were told to sort out a set of footballers according to their salaries using an online footballers list of over 10,000 rows, for which you're told to automatically assign salaries to each footballer. So here's the problem statement. The matching the footballers list that we got online didn't have any salaries. So here's what Python will help you do. Python will help to provide random salaries in just a few lines of code with various packages and models. Wow! You can see what Python does, how good, how great Python is. So now let's start our agenda. First, we're going to install Python. We're going to install various IDEs. So first, let's install Python. Now system, we type in um type in go to python.org website. Here you can see this is the Python website. Let's see. So go to downloads, click on this download for Windows. So you open it up, open your Python. See, because I already have it installed on my system. So just click multiply. But for you who haven't seen modified, just click on the first option you see. So now we have Python installed. So next, all we need to install now is our IDE. So first you need to understand what an IDE is. So what an IDE is? An IDE is an integrated development environment. So in our case, we're going to use an IDE to write our programs. But because the fact that there's you can actually use you don't really have to use a IDE to write your programs. You can easily use the plain Python editor. Like now we've installed Python and go to Python 3.10. When you click on it, you see a window pop up, so in which you can type in code. So this is a function. So in app, there are lots of IDEs in Python like PyDev, PyCharm, AirPython, Sunny, Idle. There are a lot of them, but the one we're going to use in this tutorial is PyCharm. PyCharm is known as the best Python IDE for coding with Python. So now let's install it. We go to JetBrains. Go type in jetbrains.org. See, this JetBrains is directed to this. So here you might not see a lot of things around here. So you just head to jetbrains.com/downloads. Go to maybe I'm missing the URL. Is jetbrains.org/python/download. For my case, I'm on Windows, so it takes me here. If you're on Mac, you can use this. If you're on Linux, you can use this. So, but I'm on Windows, so I click this community download. So now I have to wait for some time. So now download is taking place. So the download might take a long time. So I'm just going to pause the video until the download is complete. So now I have Python installed. You open it. Let's open up Python. So once installed, Python is getting installed. You see this window. Welcome. Click on next. Click next. Here we can create if we want to. Click on next. Just leave it as checklist then install. To take a long time, so I'm going to pause the video until it take a long time, so I'm going to pause the video. When the solution is done, I'll tell you. Complete. It's completing. So now let's run it. And completed our installation. So now we've installed Python to our desktop. Just wait. Python is opening. Confirm is the license. Someone can read it to you. Wow. But this one, see, Python is getting installed on our system. Let's need to wait. Maybe I'll pause the video. So now Python is getting in our system. Now we open this. This is Python environment. So here, close out the tip. Go to File. Navigate to this button you see right here. Click on New Project. You can type in, let's just call it beginner class. Now we can see here, this is the interpreter. This is the interpreter we're going to use. So we don't need a welcome script. Just click on create. You can don't ask again. Click on this window. Now it's loading a project. So this is our project. We've set up our file, our folder where we're going to be writing our code. So now let's begin. click left click on this button here, go to new Python file because we're using Python. So now let's just call this hat1. Let's save this as .py. So this is a Python module. This is what Python saves it as in a .py format. Here we can type in different code, a lot of code. So now, that was easy. So now we can start programming with Python. We can start coding with Python. So what? First typing code here, like some statements in Python, typing a lot. So first, we're going to understand the first thing you should know in Python, which we call comments. When you hear the word comments, to you might think of those comments in so user and types in a message, so on, so on. Think of that, but that's not what we mean by comments. Comments are actually used with the hashtag sign in Python, in which a user can type in a lot of code, lot of text. So the main user can type in a lot of text. Now we can't run our code because there's some background installation setup. So I'm going to pause the video till when my background is ready, and we're going to continue. So now my system is done editing. So as I was explaining what comments are used for, comments are like a single written text which is ignored by the computer. Text ignored by the computer. So simple text ignored by the computer. So now if you go this how to run programs. Nothing happening here. So for example, if we remove a comment and we rerun this, there's some system errors which we should be understanding later. So there are two types of comments. Two types of comments. There's the single line comments. There's the multi-line comments. Multi-line comments. Single line comments, as I told you, we're using this. And the multi-line comments follow a different step. We use the three double quote signs. Use this three double quotes or this other three double quotes. So here we can type in a lot of text as we wish. Type in a lot of text. So this is how docstring comments work. But actually there's something, it's a concept you need to understand about these comments is that these common docstring comments or multi-line comments aren't actually called comments. They're actually called strings. They're also actually called multi-line strings. But people use this as comments. Example, now you can see the text was ignored by the computer. So the computer wouldn't see it, knows it until, for example, when we call it out to print, it's just a statement which will be moving later. You can see it returns our text, but just imagine like we use a comment sign and put in text, and if we rerun this, raises error, unexpected EO. If you run this, unexpected EOF while parsing. So what this actually means is more single line comments that whenever this hash type sign is put, it ignores code, it ignores text till the end of the line. Example, we put this now, we run this, it doesn't bring any results. So this was ignored by the computer. Now we understand how these things work, how they work out. So now, as I told you, the multi-line comments use the three double quote signs. So now, what are these three double quote signs called? They're actually called strings. So let's use a comment to demonstrate what we're about to teach. Strings in Python is the first topic. We're going to be talking about strings. So first, before we start talking about what a string is, we have to understand what collection is this from. So strings are a collection of data types. Let me type it down. Data types. So what is a data type? Data type is an object that refers is an object in Python. So data type is an object in Python. So different data types have different jobs. Like this data type for storing numbers, for storing like numbers with decimals, even to storing conditions like true or false. There are lots of data types like that. First, we're taking strings. The first one is a string. String is a collection data type. Is an ordered string is an ordered and immutable data type. Collection So what I actually mean here is that a string is an ordered, which is the data type that is in an ordered format, and immutable, impossible, like impossible, you can't pause it, like impose it from refusing to do some work is immutable. First, let's learn how to create a string that used in this double quote signs or this double quote signs or the three string double quote signs or these other three strings double quote signs. So now I want to teach you strings using in which we're going to be storing them in what we call variables. Variables. So what are variables? Variables are like they are containers that store piece of data, piece of data. So in many programming languages, there are variables in C, Java, JavaScript, a lot of other programming languages. There are variables. So content of a variable, what do they contain? They contain the name and the data. So this data is meaning what they're going to store. So let me show you simple syntax, very how to do this. We call this variable name equal to data. So this is the syntax of creating a variable. So now let's comment this, let it use. In this case, our variable name is going to be our string, and the data is going to be a string in which we're going to store data. For example, I just say hello world. So as I said, I'm going to help explain this print statement. So this print statement helps to produce and bring out data in our bar in our console. It helps to produce data. So if we try printing back our string, so what Python did is that it stored this string in a variable in which this data was stored, and then also in which we were able to call it in this print statement. So we run this, it returns hello world without the columns, the quotations. So also, for example, if we want to do multiple lines, hello world, and we can put in different text, different text here. So if we rerun this, it returns the whole text in multiple lines. So for example, if we want to I get an item, in this case let's put it in a string, I still call it hello world. For example, we want to get the first letter in this variable, the first letter called H. We use this square brackets, then we point out the value. Let's see how it works. With 0, we print out H. For example, we change it to J and we run it. It does J, runs our code normally. So you'll be surprised why doesn't it start from 1? Python has its ordered index in which H is 0, E is 1, L is 2, 3, 4, so on and 5. But also let's try printing out the fifth, which is following H is 0 into it. So if try semicolon 5, see if it turns to space. There was a space, so Python doesn't ignore spaces in indexes. So we can say 3, 2, run this, print out third one, so on. Or for example, if we say print out 1 and put relation to it, 5, so can you guess what this will do? We run this. While you can see the results, we wrote H E to the fifth. So try calling 0 times hello. First, full 5 letters and first 5 letters in our string. Or we can use this double quotation sign. This brings the result in all the data being brought out. Put 5, that's the first 5. We put in double hash 1. That's all the data still. So let's try doing 2, see what it does. It brings every 2 digits. H L O W R D. So it brings all the first, all the digits in twos. Or we can try saying -1. So what this does, that brings all our text backwards in a backward format. Another backward format. Also we can use this -1. It brings out the last digit. For example, we're typing more, it brings out K. So that's the last digit of the program. So this will help us bring the last digit. So now let's learn how to join two strings together, concatenate them. Example, this time want to call out the name. Red sign indicates an error, a problem with our code, meaning this doesn't exist. Let's remove it for now. And we call out um, method greeting. this in a variable for hello. So we say sentence. If you want to join these two strings together, you can easily use the name plus and space of the method of greeting. So if we run this, let's print it out. Print out our sentence. Let's see. Okay, hello. So let's try changing it to method of greeting and the name. So set hello Gucci. What it actually did is that it brought out this variable and added a space, which you can see between here. Then the name, we put in John, that it returns the text. So whatever we put in here or here doesn't really matter. So now if I show you, for example, we remove this or we run this, it shows this text without any any spaces in it. So let me show you some methods in Python. Create a string. For now, we put in this and type in hello world. So what we can do now is we print this out. We run this. Let's see this details of code. So let's try calling an attribute using the dot method. Stripe. You run this. Now everything is arranged so the spaces front don't really matter anymore. They are pushed away. So now let's also learn some other methods. There's the upper method. So everything in uppercase. Let's remove the spaces. In uppercase. This is in uppercase. So now we can also put it in lowercase. In the dot lower method, we can put it in. We can like bring out a start with method. This needs a parameter. We'll be understanding further in some later tutorials. So now we're going to put H because true. This is a boolean in Python, so we're going to be learning that soon. Booleans in Python. So now it results if it starts with this, if it doesn't, false, it returns false. So now this can determine if something starts with an object or ends with an object. Which ends with an object. So also ends with D. It helps us. So try calling a method called find. Calling find find o. What this stands for. So this is in the fourth element of a string. This is the fourth element, so this can be useful in finding the where a character is located. So we can also use the count method. We run this times 2. So this variable was written down 2 times. So we type in all different times, count it, and turns the number that was there. So this helps in want to find how many times this was. So example, you now want to like replace something sequence of code with another sequence. For example, we want to equate hello with want to replace the world with earth. Place a comma in here. Here we put in another string for the earth. It replaces this sequence of code, this text with this text. So this is good. For example, we now want to split string. And then, like example, we want to split our string by space. If we run this, we see returns something, square brackets. These are called lists. We'll be learning about them in the next tutorial. So now we've understood strings. If you like this video, like the button and don't forget to click the subscribe button. So now let's comment this. Now let's move into another data type in Python, which is called integers. So what are integers? Integers are data types that store numbers. So what this data type does that it stores numbers. So first let's create what we call the variable. Call this integer equal to, we put in a number, and we print this out as 2. And to make sure we're working with an integer, we use the type, the built-in object of our integer, returns class int. So we're working with an integer. So what this integer does is that it helps you to store numbers. Like for example, for French numbers. But also, there's also something you need to understand. To print this, leave it as 1. To convert an object to an integer, use the int method. Then you put in number, int. You rerun this, it turns 12. So this is an integer. So example, if we say integer of int, so it turns 1. So let's say for example, we put this as 1, it returns 1. But for example, let's try getting the type of this so-called integer. Now this is a string. So what Python did, it didn't try bothering to collect an integer in this line of code. So if we want to convert this string object to an integer, you use the int method and put in integer. We run this, and 1. So also warnings. Example, we put something like a string. It's a problem here, error which you might not understand as a beginner in Python. So this says invalid literal for int with base 10. So integers follow the base 10, follows only base 10 objects in the binary class. So this isn't part mentioned part of the binary, so we can put in different things as long as what's inside them is an integer. Also, if we want to concatenate integers, or if we want to say like in example, we want to say salary equal to example we put in something and we say rent equal to something else. You put in anything you want and you say like total left. If you want to like add it together, try printing out a total left. See what the result brought out. It concatenated this salary and a rent, join them together. We can also use the minus operator and run this. It tells this, it's subtracted, or we can use the division sign. It divided and returned an in a number with decimal, or we can try using the multiplication. So in Python, multiplication signs are done with the asterisk operator in Python. So very long. The help, the help done with the asterisk operator. does. For example, we want to square, we can use this, but that's too large. Haha, this too much. Can square this large numbers. Let's try making this object smaller. See what it did. So let's multiply 2, that's 8. So this double asterisk separator helps us to square numbers, also to square root numbers. For example, we want to square root times 4, 2. We run this 2, that's 8, or 5 times 4, 5, 22. So try different numbers. I think we aren't following the right path. So what this operator doesn't do roots numbers. It helps to divide numbers. It's removing by removing the remainders. For example, if we say 43, 23, that's 11. So actually 23 over 2 is actually 11.5. So it removed the decimals, left us 11. While we've learned a lot about integers too, just learn another data type in Python. They're also called floats. So what are floats? Floats are data types that store numbers with decimals. So floats helps to store numbers that have decimal points. First, how to create a float. Simply use create name the variable my float, call out a number to print out a float, returns this. So we want to be sure we're working with a float. Get the type. We run this. Returns class float is a float object. So now also we can like do a lot of stuff with them. Some stuffings with them. For example, call a second float and add it together as values, or we can subtract them by calling my float float. It's subtracted. Also, we can divide on this, choose this, or we can multiply. Let's try dividing it. Returns 1.0. Example we type some more. Equals out 1.0. Okay, so what it actually did that gave it an estimate 24 to since there's not up to multiplication of two of this actually is like 1 point some numbers, so it's supposed to be 1.0. So if you roll on this again, 2.0. So it also takes away all the decimals. As a result, that is a float. It remains the decimal point. So do a lot with floats. Let's try one of these variables. If we try calling the second float for salary, that's this. So it added 23 to this, gave it 46. So it's possible for it to add up integers and floats together. So you try calling, like, also you want to convert to float, a simple float method. Run this, use it as a decimal. Also watch out for mistakes. Let's see, you can also convert floats. So let's also learn like how to round them up. Use the simple round function and type in like round up our salary floats. Only when this it returns 10. We change this to 6 and 11. So let's try adding a comma and like then changing it to 3. Estimate it to 3 places. Try changing it to 6. Estimate this to 10.633. Try estimating our second float. Use another value. So it also helps estimate. Example we want 2. So now we've learned about floats. So that's it for this tutorial. So if you like this video, don't forget to click the like button below this video and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon after subscribing. So thank you and see you in the next tutorial.